Morgan Wallen has a song called I'm the Problem. And actually it's not a bad song. It's actually not a bad song. Even before I heard it on SNL, I was like, it's not a bad song. I understand why Morgan Wallen has his fan base, right? I'm not a fan, but I understand why musically why he's attractive to people. There's a sing-songy, even like a slightly hip hop influence the way that he sings, so it's interesting. So he's recently on SNL, and he walked off the stage during this SNL credits. So the show ended. Mikey Madison from Anora was the host. Shout out to Mikey Madison. She did good. I like Mikey. She sings so sweet and nice, and then you see her in these performances, and she's like really good playing edgy and crazy. So shout out to Mikey Madison. She did well on there. So she was on there, and she said goodbye. She said, thank you for a great night. And she said goodbye to Morgan, and he just walked off the stage. Because usually at the end of the show, they're laughing. I mean, they're laughing or shaking hands or hugging each other. I kind of figured he wasn't going to be hugging each other, hugging people, but he could have shook hands with people before he left. But no, he walked off the stage past the cameras. And I never seen that before on SNL. I've seen SNL for years, and I've never seen someone just leave like that. Now, there's people who maybe didn't show up at the end, but for the most part, never just walking off the stage. So we could look at this one or two ways. The second way might be controversy sells. So Morgan Wallen performed 2 songs. The songs actually sounded pretty decent. And again, the one song's called I'm the Problem. He said, maybe I'm the problem. And controversy sells. So from a marketing standpoint, if you do that, walk off the stage and then post a picture by your private jet saying something like returning or going back to God's country, if you do something like that, the media will pick up on that automatically. Like if you just perform your 2 songs on SNL, some people might talk about it, but walking off the stage and then posting a picture that said going back to God's country or whatever he said, that will create controversy more so than your performance. So from a media standpoint, it's a P.T. Barnum way of just spinning the truth. It makes a lot of sense from a marketing standpoint because he is a problematic figure. Like if you don't know the story, like he was supposed to have been on SNL like years ago during the pandemic, but before he was supposed to go on SNL, he was partying or he was on a club someplace, a bar someplace, kissing on women. And it's like, and this is back when everybody was wearing masks, especially in New York City where people was just passing away left and right. And he's out there like, no mask on, kissing on people, and then expect to go to New York on SNL when everybody's wearing masks like everything is cool. Oh my God. So they said, no, you can't. And not Billy Corgan, Jack White for the White Stripes, he pinched in for that performance. And Jack White was fantastic. I love Jack White. Jack White was like, I got you. And Jack White was great. Go watch Jack White's performance. I think it was like 2022 maybe that he did that. So as many years later, Warren got a new album coming out, and they welcome him back on SNL. And again, there's been no controversy. It's been quiet. And even I felt like, you know what? Maybe Morgan Wallen is finally turning the page. That maybe he's not this problematic dude anymore. Maybe he's not this guy who says racist stuff when he's drunk. Go watch the video of that. It was like what was it? That some guy was towing his truck and he said the N-word. Yeah, he's that guy. he's this dude, man. Just a problematic dude. So so that's number 2. He's doing it as marketing. He knows it builds on his bad boy behavior. Or option 1, he's just a horrible person. He's just, why would you do this? Now, if you're saying like going back to God's country, if you believe in God, and a lot of people do, God created everything. God, because Morgan lives in Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, so God just created Nashville, Tennessee. Like God just created the South. That's all he created. That's all he created. And he didn't create nothing else. He didn't create New York. He didn't create Ohio. He didn't create Los Angeles. He just created the South. So that also means that God, if we believe in that, God was totally happy about slavery and the Confederacy and all that stuff. Like God is full on with all that Southern stuff they did back in the Civil War days, where people twisted religion to say that slavery was the right thing because it's in the Bible. Yeah, so God was responsible for all that. Okay, but he doesn't care anything about New York. God didn't do nothing about New York. He did nothing different about Ohio, L.A., Chicago, Miami. He just created the South, and Nashville's in the South. That's God's country, right? God created everything. If you believe in religion, God created everything. Why would he just create the South? And Morgan Wallen's been in New York before. He's in the music business. I'm sure there's plenty of times that he's been in New York City because I know they got that. Nashville got their own thing down there when it comes to music. And probably a lot of people, maybe don't go to New York. They just handle the business in Nashville. But as big as Morgan Wallen is, he had to go to New York for business. And then also, he performed at Madison Square Garden. Like he had like 2 nights back in like maybe 2022 or something like that. So when you're on tour, you got to, and again, most likely he does a bus tour. So his bus rolls into New York. They got to be there for a few days, at least 3 days to set up, and so he's there at least, if you're doing Madison Square Garden or someplace like that, at least 3 days. So most likely Morgan Wallen's been in New York quite a few times over his life. Now, yes, does he prefer Nashville and being and stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Like even for me, like New York is a wonderful city, but I like sitting and seeing a backyard and a bunch of trees. Not to say New York does it, but everything's so claustrophobic in New York. So I understand that, New York might feel a bit claustrophobic because there's so many people and so busy, and you kind of like the quieter things living on your mansion in Nashville, Tennessee. I totally understand that, but at the same time, just saying like going back to God's country, that's just silly. And to be honest, maybe some of the cast members of SNL wasn't too happy about him being there just because of what happened before. Maybe some of the cast members wasn't readily like hugging him or say, hey, how you doing, Morgan? But I'm sure there's some cast members that treat him okay. Just shake the hands of people who's cool with you. I'm sure there's plenty of people that, like Chappelle's been on there. Chappelle's been on there recently. I'm sure there's a couple of cast members who don't like Chappelle. I love Chappelle, but I'm sure there's some cast members who don't like Chappelle. And Dave's totally fine with this. Hey man, some people don't like me. so he shakes the hands of people who likes him, and then he goes, then he leaves. Like there's an after party after SNL after every show. Morgan Wallen could have just stayed on the stage, maybe kept to himself, and then once cameras are off, then you leave. You have to go to the after party. Not everybody goes to the after party. I don't know, man. So it's either one or two ways. Either Morgan Wallen did this as a marketing tool, because it's great. Hey, man, bad publicity has never hurt him. When he said that racist stuff, man, his album sales, I remember this because I was an Amazon seller back then. I was like selling like CDs and DVDs back then. I remember that time period. And that album he made, his last album, after he even said the racist stuff, was like #1 for weeks. Like he was Teflon. That fan base, like, we don't care if he says anything racist. We buying that album. That album was like one of the biggest albums that year. His audience does not care. Whatever racist thing he said, they did not care. Which says a lot, but that's a whole different video. So he knows, like, no matter what he does, he doesn't care about the pop charts anyway. He don't care about the pop charts. He knows that no matter what he does, he has a strong country audience that's going to support him no matter what he does. So for people like me or the media who's saying like, man, like, why the hell he do this? But his fan base is like, yeah, you tell them. Them people, them liberals in New York City, you walk off that stage. I know it had to be terrible up there with all that pizza and diversity. People are crazy, man. So yeah, for his fan base, this means absolutely nothing. And he knows this. But as a professional, he's a dick. Listen, listen, Kanye West has gone off the rails, and I think he got mental issues. But when he was in his prime and he was making hits and he was somewhat okay, he was a dick. he was a straight dick. And Morgan Wallen is a straight dick too. So it's even market. So what do you guys think? Do you think Morgan Wallen is just a straight up dick? Or do you think this is a marketing move? I think it's a combination of both. The messed up thing is his fans don't care. But that means next week he'll probably be #1.